Hey friends, and welcome back to Unread and Unfiltered, the podcast where the TBR is never ending, the takes are unhinged, and the cultural commentary is always caffeinated. I'm your host, Kaylin, store manager, reader, academic, and emotionally unstable mom friend. And can I just say, these deep dives have really been giving me life lately. Books, tropes, cultural rage, that is all my serotonin shot with a Red Bull chaser and a side of academic vengeance. And if you're new here, hi, hello, welcome to this 3 a.m. group chat closet hangout where we talk books, chaos, and cultural rage like no one's watching. This is the first episode that I will be filming this podcast as a video as well. So for audio listeners, this won't be too different for you other than just probably a little bit of stumbling. But for those of you watching the video, I really need you to give me some grace because I do totally script out these episodes. Spoiler alert for anyone that did not know that. And I read the script because it just makes me more comfortable. However, where I'm at in my closet, I'm sitting on the floor and I don't have anything that's like tall enough to put my laptop at eye level so that I'm like still looking kind of at the camera, but like past it like this. So I'm having to do a lot of looking down. And I know it's weird and I'm sorry and I'm just going to call it out now. But whole vibes of this podcast in general are a group chat with your bestie. And I sent you a voice memo from FaceTime, hence the, if you're watching the video, the FaceTime UI overlay, because I thought that would be fun. But enough of my little rant. This week, we will be unpacking the real heart of A Court of Thorns and Roses. The messy, beautiful, chaotic thing called found family and belonging. And full disclosure, we're diving into the whole series here, so there will be some spoilers, although I am just trying to keep it strictly based on vague references and character personalities when I can. Not anything super spoily. The only problem is if you haven't finished the first book and maybe the first half of the second book, you are going to get you're going to get spoiled on at least one of the relationships that happens. So if you're not caught up, pause this, go binge read or binge watch the fan theories, and then come back and we will have a party. So if you are ready, we're going to take a deep breath, and in 3, 2, 1, we're going to get into it. So listen, I know on the surface, this series has everything you would expect from a fantasy soap opera. It has hot fae, big wings, betrayal, one very necessary battle scene, and a whole lot of trauma. But this episode will not be a plot summary. I'm not here to recap who stabbed who or which mating bond made you scream. We have book talk and very chaotic wikis for that, and honestly, those people are much better at summarizing the books than I am. What we're doing here is peeling back the glitter and gore and talking about what's underneath all of that. We're using ACOTAR as a frame, not because it's perfect, but because it's cracked something open for so many of us. So yeah, we're going to be talking about fake courts and winged dudes, but really we're going to be talking about healing and about what it means to be cast out and still find your people. About how sometimes you don't just lose a home, you lose the version of you that belonged there. And then somehow, some way, you survive. You build again, you love again, you belong again. Because the real story isn't just about Feyre becoming powerful. It's about her finding a place to rest. So grab a drink, light a candle, hide from your responsibilities for the next 30 minutes, and let's talk about found family, Fae trauma, and why the Night Court is basically a group chat full of trauma survivors who accidentally became co-workers. So real talk, the found family trope, she is that bitch. She's the whole reason that we ugly cry when a character goes, "You're safe here." I shut down emotionally when that happens. Don't try to convince me otherwise, and I know that's how you feel too. So here's the thing that no one talks about when we say found family. You don't go looking for one unless the one you were born into couldn't hold you. Found family is pretty much when your actual family drops the ball so hard that the universe has to throw you a group of chaos goblins and weirdos and somehow they love you better. It's like the emotional equivalent of getting adopted by raccoons who learned how to cook and offer unsolicited therapy. It's like building a survival kit from people who don't just tolerate your mess. They bring snacks, clean it up, and make jokes about it afterwards. And in ACOTAR, that's baked into the story from page 1. Feyre starts the series on the outside of everything. She is an outsider of her own family, of the Fey world, and even to her own body. She survives out of necessity, not out of belonging. And what hits the hardest is how familiar that feels. Even if you've never slayed a fairy or accidentally become a high lady. Because maybe you know what it's like to be the one who makes things work while everyone else falls apart. To shrink and smile and swallow your needs to keep the peace. It's like playing emotional Jenga with a tower made of wet spaghetti noodles and just hoping that no one notices how close it is to collapsing. That's exile, baby, and not the sexy kind with the dramatic cloak and a tragic violin soundtrack. It's the kind where you don't know where you belong, so you just keep trying to earn it, performing worthiness like it's your side hustle, and faking safety even when your gut is screaming otherwise. But what ACOTAR does, and what it really nails, is showing us that exile isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just loneliness that you've learned to live with, until something shifts. And honestly, I think that's why found family hits so hard the more that I think about it. It's not just having people around you, it's being seen. Someone saying, I know what you've been through, and I'm not going anywhere. That sort of love doesn't demand that you fix yourself first. And trust me, that's not something we all get in real life. So if you've ever built your own pack or thought, these people saved me, you know what I mean. Found family is what love looks like when it doesn't come with fine print. It's a rebellion against exile, literal or emotional, that makes us think we have to do this alone. It says, you don't have to be okay yet, you just have to be here. And sometimes that's the whole damn world. So let's talk about the emotionally constipated, trauma-scented war daddy himself. Wait for it. Cassian. Because if anyone in ACOTAR understands the price of found family, it's this man. The bat boy who will emotionally bench press your trauma while making you soup from a can because he doesn't know how to cook, but damn it, he tried. And the guy who basically became everyone's emotional service dog with wings. And yeah, if emotional burnout were a sport, Cassian would have won gold, tore his hamstring, and still limped off stage cracking jokes like, at least my wings still work. Cassian didn't get handed power. He clawed his way up from absolutely nothing. And when he finally got a seat at the table, he didn't leave, he didn't peace out, he stayed. And he stayed to protect a group of people who hate him just for existing. Tell me that is not painfully familiar. Whether it's your family, your hometown, your workplace, or the cursed group chat from college that you just can't seem to escape, so many of us stay loyal to spaces that would never return the favor. We pour from cups that cracked 10 years ago and then act surprised when we're dehydrated and pissed off by Tuesday. And listen, I know this one intimately. I spent years trying to be friends with my partner's friends. Like really, really trying. Trying to be this version of someone that they would want to invite to do things. And meanwhile, this man was out here emotionally and financially abusing me and cheating on me constantly. And I was stupidly loyal, not just to him, but to them. They were his people, but I just kept hoping that one day they'd become mine. And you know what? They never did. I left that relationship years ago, and not a single one of those people ever reached out. No check-ins, no, you okay, just gone. I was pretty much treated like I was the problem all along. And that really messes with your head, you know? Like, I spent so long trying to be easy to be around, trying to earn a place at the table by being useful, loyal, and shrinking myself. And I was honestly more upset about the loss of them, the friends, the routines, the illusion that I belonged, than I ever was over him. And that's the thing about found family. When it's real, it feels like finally dropping your shoulders after years of sleeping in armor. But when it isn't, it breaks something in you way deeper than regular heartbreak. That's the Illyrians. They're not just winged warrior guys in leather pants. They're a system, a walking metaphor for hypermasculinity, control, fear, and punishment, all dressed up as tradition. And Cassian, he's stuck inside of it, trying to change it from the inside out. Take a second and imagine being the unpaid intern and emotional support bouncer and HR rep for your entire toxic community, and still feeling like you don't actually belong there. That's what he's carrying. And he still keeps showing up anyway. Because that's the thing about found family. It's not always soft. It's not a warm hug and a matching tattoo. Sometimes it's a freaking battlefield. Sometimes it's choosing the people who break your heart the least. And sometimes it's building loyalty on the ashes of what you never got growing up. And Cassian, he gets that. He's not just the flirty warrior with abs and the snark quota. He's masking. He jokes so he doesn't scream. And look, if sarcasm were a coping mechanism Olympics, Cassian would have medaled while actively bleeding from a training injury and still hitting on the judge. He throws himself in front of the fire because if he stops being the shield, he might actually have to feel what all that fire did to him. And if you've ever been the one holding it all together, the one who checks in on everyone else, who says, I'm fine, even when you're emotionally bleeding out, yeah, you're Cassian, and welcome to the club, bestie. Here we cry in the shower, we refill everyone's cup before realizing ours is actually a mug full of dust and repressed rage, and we carry the weight because we know if we drop it, no one else will pick it up. And this is the undercurrent of found family that we don't talk about enough. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's healing. But it asks a lot of people who were never taught how to belong without being useful. And Cassian's whole arc, it's still being needed, but not wanted. Valued, but still other. The protector, the shield, the muscle, not the heart. And if that hits too close to home, I am so sorry, but you are not alone. So now let's switch gears and talk about the Night Court. Because yes, it's fan service and fantasy wish fulfillment, but also it's a roadmap for what healing can look like. It's not perfection. It's not fixing people. It's just choosing to build something better. Feyre doesn't find romance with Rhys. She finds structure. She gets boundaries, space, purpose. She is no longer a tool to be used. She's a person with worth, even when she's not being useful. And we know that happens quite often. And the inner circle, that whole mess of traumatized, beautiful disasters, that's found family in its most chaotic and aspirational form. They bicker, they roast each other, they cover for one another's panic attacks and bad decisions. They don't fix Feyre, but they do hold space while she figures her own shit out. And that right there, that's the blueprint. Because here's the quiet truth. Found family doesn't erase the trauma, but it does give you room to metabolize it, to see yourself through kinder eyes, and to ask, who am I when I'm safe? Now that we've talked about what it looks like when found family almost works, we have to talk about when it doesn't. And enter the fox boy with abandonment issues and a moral compass duct taped together with sarcasm and survival instincts, Lucien. Because if Cassian is the ride or die older brother who keeps showing up even when it hurts, Lucien is the kid standing outside the house holding the casserole, wondering if anyone remembered to unlock the door. Lucien is what it looks like when you're technically in the group, but you're never really part of it. He's the perpetual +1 to his own life, the friend you like but forget to invite. And not because you don't care, but because you assumed someone else did. And maybe that's the hardest part. He's not exiled out loud. He's just not quite claimed by anyone. He was born into a court that didn't want him, cast out by the one that he risked everything for. And then, because the universe is a petty drama queen, he gets shoved into a shiny new family that calls itself chosen, but doesn't actually choose him. Like, imagine surviving war, betrayal, and exile, and then getting handed a group chat where you're looped into the memes, but never quite in on the jokes. Like, you're always a few steps behind the punchline. And listen, if you're already wincing, it's because you know what that feels like. Maybe you've been the friend who's always driven, but never gets invited first. Maybe you're the coworker who's basically family until your PTO request is denied for the third time. And maybe you grew up learning that love comes with a checklist and belonging has a dress code. And now you're still trying to prove you're worth picking. Lucien is surviving on scraps of connection while pretending he's full. He flirts like it's armor. He's clever like it's currency. He adapts to every room like a shapeshifter with people-pleasing trauma and a 6-month supply of repressed rage. But you can tell that he doesn't believe he belongs in any of them. And that's the heartbreak of found family that no one wants to post about. It's not the Hallmark version with cozy group hugs and matching sweaters. It's the real version, the lonely one. The kind of exile that isn't loud or dramatic. It's slow. It's subtle. It's your name not being mentioned. It's the group text going silent when you speak. And it's watching people you thought were yours choose someone else over and over again. That's Lucien. He gets the newsletters, he shows up to the meetings, but no one ever really says, hey, are you okay? He's useful, but never central. Tolerated, but never trusted. No messy exit, no unfollowing the group chat, just loyalty with a side of internal screaming. And he stays. And that truly wrecks me, because he doesn't lash out. He doesn't burn it down. He doesn't make it a whole thing. He just keeps trying, keeps doing the work, and keeps showing up, even when it costs him, and even when nobody notices. That kind of quiet, exhausted bravery, that's not just a book character. That's us. And if you've never read these books, Lucien's arc still matters. He's the reminder that sometimes you're in the room, but not in the circle, and that doesn't make you any less worthy of love. If you've ever kept pouring energy into relationships that never seem to pour back, if you've ever swallowed your feelings just to keep the peace, and if you've ever wondered if anyone would notice if you just stopped trying, then yeah, you're Lucien. And babe, I see you. I see all the things you do that go unrecognized. I see how hard you've worked to earn love that should have been freely given. I see the strength it takes to keep hoping someone will finally choose you, even when no one ever has. And I need you to know, none of that is a failure. It's not weakness. It's not your fault. It's just a chapter. It's not your whole story. So take a breath, take a sip, and text the friend who does check in. And if you don't have one yet, hi, I'm here. You can sit with me and you can shoot me a DM. So we've talked about the mess, the wounds, the almost families that felt like home until they didn't. But now I want to talk about what it looks like when you try again anyway. When you take your shattered pieces and say, okay, round 2, let's see what happens. Enter Feyre and the absolute chaotic soft-serve swirl of trauma and tenderness that is the Night Court. Because say what you want about this band of emotionally damaged overachievers, they try. They build something new. It's not perfect, it's not polished, but it is real. And Feyre walks into this space with everything burned down behind her. Her body, her will to live, her faith in literally anyone. And instead of collapsing into survival mode forever, she says, no, I want more. I still want softness, I still want love, and I still want to feel safe somewhere. And somehow, despite the secret keeping, the guilt hoarding, and the codependency that probably needs a group therapist with combat training, she finds it. She finds people who let her fall apart and don't flinch. She finds people who see her worst day and don't walk out. She finds a love that says, you don't have to be useful to be worthy. You just get to be. And listen, that hits, especially if, like me, you grew up thinking stability was just silence. That love meant putting everyone else first, and that being good meant never needing anything too loudly. Watching Feyre walk into a space where she could be messy and angry and held anyway, that was the first time that I realized maybe I could have that too. That maybe I didn't have to earn belonging with performance. That I didn't have to keep auditioning for love like it was a job I'd get fired from if I cried too much or asked for too much help. Trying to build trust again after trauma, it's like using glitter glue to hold together a vase that's been through 5 family reunions and 1 metaphorical house fire. Pretty, but also crunchy. So no, the Night Court isn't perfect, but it is the first place that Feyre doesn't have to prove herself to be protected. And when you've never had that kind of safety feels like a revelation, like a promise you didn't know you were allowed to hope for. This is what found family really means. It's not just shared trauma, but chosen commitment. It's not, we survived the same thing. It's, I see you, I choose you, I'm still here even when it's messy. And that's the story that matters. Not the magic, not the wingspan, not the enemies to lovers slow burn. The real story is healing starts when love stops being conditional. Now we must talk about Elain and Nesta, because if the Night Court is our chaotic found family fantasy, then these two, they are the reality check. They're blood family, the kind you love deeply, resent occasionally, and can't quite shake no matter how much therapy you've had. Elain is the quiet ache kind of person, the one who tries to be soft and easy, shrinking herself to avoid causing waves. She's grieving and surviving and trying to smile through the fog. And honestly, I've been her. That person who doesn't feel safe taking up space, who plays peacekeeper at the expense of her own voice. And then there's Nesta. And Nesta is the whole storm system in a ball gown. She's rage and armor and razor wire tenderness burned under 10,000 layers of don't effing talk to me. She's the sister who pushes everyone away, but somehow still bleeds loyalty in private. And their relationship, it's not Hallmark movie healing. It's jagged. It's exhausting. And it's painfully real. Because sometimes loving your family means sitting in the blast radius of their pain and still showing up. And maybe that's why this story gets me just a little. Because I think a lot of us were raised to believe that family means unconditional love. But no one told us how brutal it can be when that love has to survive trauma. And if you've ever tried to love someone who responds to affection like a cat being offered a bath, yeah, that's Nesta. And what hits the hardest is that neither of them ever gets it all right. They don't always say the words, they lash out, they go cold, they fail each other, but when it matters, when things fall apart, they fight tooth and nail to hold on. That's what makes this feel so personal, because loving someone who's still healing, it's not graceful, it's not poetic, it's burnout and hope sitting in the same room. And it's learning that forgiveness is a verb, not a feeling. I've had relationships where love didn't feel soft. It felt like a job that I was scared to quit. Like I was the emotional interpreter for someone else's pain. And yeah, that sounds dramatic, but if you've ever been the strong one for someone drowning in their own chaos, then you know what I'm talking about. So when I look at Elain and Nesta, I don't just see a subplot. I see a mirror. For the parts of us that we're still learning how to love without self-erasure, or how to protect ourselves without shutting everyone else. Because this is what belonging really looks like. It's not perfection, just persistence. It's choosing love even when it's complicated as hell. This arc isn't about who's right. It's about what survives when you've both been shattered and you're still trying to love each other with shaky hands. And when blood family fails to be enough or becomes the source of that wound, that's when found family steps in. Not to erase, but to rebuild. Not with perfection, but with presence. With people who don't need you to perform healing on a timeline. And that, it doesn't fix you, but it does give you room to not hide anymore. It's not going to give you fae powers or glowing tattoos, but it is the kind of love that stays. The kind that says, you don't have to be okay yet. I'm still here. This whole series keeps asking one question in different ways. Who gets to belong? It asks who gets to call something home, who gets to be loved, not for their performance, but for their presence. Because even outside the Night Court, we see the cost of conditional belonging. Nesta, Elain, Lucien, all of them are navigating the wreckage of families that broke before the story even started. And don't get me wrong, there are moments that I want to yeet the entire inner circle into a therapy group chat. They mess up, they hurt each other, but the difference is they keep showing up. And that's what makes them family. Not shared blood, but shared effort. And when Feyre starts doing the same, when she opens that door for Nesta, even after all the pain, that's when the story stops being about power and starts being about love. Because loving someone through their worst moments, that's the magic trick. Okay, besties, take a deep breath, because we have dug into the courts, the characters, and the chaos of found family in ACOTAR. And now we need to bring it back to us for a second, because the real magic is not just in the pages or sparkling Fae courts. It's your found family, the messy, beautiful, ride or die people who show up when blood lets you down. Maybe it's your best friend, your partner, your coworker who becomes your emergency contact before your mom does. But for me, it's the person who lets me call every Monday morning on my drive to work and vent about literally everything. It's the one who brings me a cinnamon roll because she knows I won't eat unless it's handed to me. And it's the one who tells me the truth, especially when I don't know how to ask for it. Found family is the people who see you, the real you, and still say, yeah, I got you. And none of us get a guidebook for how to build that. It's trial and error, tears and tacos, and sometimes a voice memo that spirals into crying over 2007 era dashboard confessional. But whatever it looks like to you, whether it's chaotic or quiet, just know, found family isn't a cute trope. It's a lifeline. It's your emotional pit crew, your accidental soulmates, the people who will show up at 2 a.m. with fries and blunt advice whether you asked for it or not. It's a rebellion against exile, emotional or otherwise. So before I let you go, I want to hear from you. Who's in your found family? And who held you together when things fell apart? Slide into my DMs at bleary-eyed.momboss or leave a comment. I don't care if it's a novel or a note that just says Lucien deserves better. I want to hear it. So send the stories, the shoutouts, the group chat chaos, and let's build something together. Something a little messy, a little magical, and entirely ours. Because yeah, blood isn't always family, but love is the whole damn plot twist. So until next time, besties, keep showing up for each other. We don't find found family by accident. We build it brick by brick on our weird little scraps of love that we dare to believe in. The magic is real, and it starts with who we choose.